The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para-X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
Hey, we're back. How you doing, Fox?
Oh, yeah, I guess we are back.
Yeah.
Unless this is a terrible nightmare.
Oh.
Actually, it's not so bad.
No, not at all.
I'm hanging in. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's nice and hot out.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's we had those thunderstorms.
We did.
For several days there.
Humidity, rain.
Yeah.
I managed to grill last night, though.
Did you?
Yeah. In between the downpours.
Oh, so you ran out there, threw the grill on,
yeah,
threw whatever on, prayed,
right,
made some sacrifices to the rain god, came running back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been like that too.
The first time I went out, though, I had the grill warming up, heating, and I'm sitting out there, with my brandy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your brandy.
I had it at that point, and
in one of those snifters.
Yeah. And waiting, just hoping that it's not going to rain. And guess what? It started raining.
It started raining.
I had to turn the grill off, and actually, I'm sorry, I didn't turn the grill off. I left it on, closed the lid, went inside, and I waited. I'm like, okay, it stopped. So I went back out, and by that time, the grill was really warm. So I was able to do it, and it didn't rain after that. So it was pretty good. But yeah, this is like the first nice day in a while.
Yeah, summer's back.
Yeah, that was terrible.
I have to admit, I woke up and it felt like autumn.
What, today?
The last few days.
Okay.
With the dark, the rain, the cool.
Yeah.
And I was excited for autumn, but I also don't want to be done with summer yet.
Right. It goes too quickly.
It does.
I feel like we just started.
I know. Well, we've been busy.
Yeah, we have.
This is, just to let everyone know, we're talking about summer and autumn. This is episode 93.
Yes.
Dead Days of Summer.
Dead Days of Summer.
Dead Days of Summer.
Not Dog Days of Summer.
Not Dog Days of
Dead
Summer.
Days of Summer.
And not Dead Dog Days of Summer.
No.
Because that's just sad.
That's depressing.
That isn't scary, that's sad.
Right.
Anyway,
that's sad.
Brought to you by the Dead Puppy Corporation of America. No, that's not. So, episode 93.
Is there such a thing?
No.
Let me look that up now.
Yeah, they make fertilizer.
Hey, here it is.
They make dog food.
They make
We're
fertilizer?
gonna get phone calls.
Where do they get the dog food from?
Yeah. Soylent dog food is dogs. Right.
Yeah, they have a lot of complaints on their website here. So.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Except for the dogs. They love it. They love dog food.
Yeah. It's where all dogs want to go.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But Dead Days of Summer.
Yes.
And, it's funny because I've been thinking about Halloween recently, but now that it's warm again, and I kind of push that.
You put on the back burner, right?
Push that back. And, Alice and I like to get our little weekend trips in the summer.
Right.
And we go down to Ocean City. Mm-hmm. We go out to Gettysburg. We'll probably be out in a few weeks.
Right.
And we got up to the Hudson Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Because we went last year and we did that show, Hudson Valley Ghost Stories.
Yes.
And then we went up again, and this time we just stayed in West Point.
Okay.
Really nice Holiday Inn up there.
Mm-hmm.
And West Point, and unfortunately, when you go up there's only a couple of bridges across the river itself.
Right.
So wherever you stay, if you want to get it somewhere across the river, you got to go all the way down or all the way up and then across and back down. Because we really enjoy Cold Spring, New York.
Okay.
We spend most of our time there. Yeah, it's this wonderful New Hope-like village on the river. And it's just such a beautiful town.
Kind of like, is it like Tarrytown?
Well, actually, Tarrytown's a little more urbanized.
Right.
Think classic Hudson Valley, New England village.
Okay,
with some very nice shops and coffee shops and restaurants and, things like that. And it's right by the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival.
Wonderful. And
just, we spent a few days up there. We were going to go down to the beach in New York, but we loved Cold Spring again so mumuch we just stayed.
Yeah.
We just stayed. And
Polly made the right decision.
We had a wonderful dinner at Catherine's Tuscan Grill.
Okay.
And we saw the menu, we felt the quality of the food, and we blew our budget to hell. I got the duck, and it was glorious.
Yeah?
Glorious duck. We had some wine. Wonderful waiter. It's a beautiful atmosphere. It's like in this Gothic house.
Okay.
You go in and they've got these dimly lit chandeliers and wonderful tables. And the tiramisu, we ordered it, and we had heard that it was out. But when we ordered it, it turned out that the owner had made some more.
Okay.
And let me tell you about this tiramisu. Best in my life.
Really?
They used the mascarpone cheese in it. Very heavy. Looks like they baked their own ladyfingers with chocolate chips. Oh my god. It was incredible.
Nice.
That was Catherine's Tuscan's Grill. And you can find a website at www.tuscangrill.com. And I liked it so much I wanted to bring it up.
That's great.
Great place for a ghost story.
Check that place out. Is it haunted?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm hoping so. I talked to the owner, and she said that she didn't have any ghost stories herself, but I bet some of her staff have encountered a few creepy things. And the next day, we went over to... while Allison was working on homework, and it was raining, it was dark. I really wanted to kayak. Mm-hmm. That Saturday I wasn't feeling well.
Right.
And then I put it off to Sunday, and then we woke up and we walked out of the hotel and it was raining. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to get down there anyway, and then the rain stopped. It was dark and cool. Mm. This mist was over the mountains.
Right.
And I went down and got a kayak, and I went on the Hudson River. Best kayaking experience of my life.
Really?
Cool, rainy, fog. And you could hear these bangs, these loud bangs. And Allison was like, "Oh, it's thunder." I'm like, "I don't think it's thunder, hon. I don't know what it is. It sounds like a dump truck or something." And the people at Hudson River Expedition said, "Oh, that's not thunder. That's artillery blasts."
Okay.
And I'm like, "What?"
Wow.
And they said, "Well, the West Point Proving Ground is right over there."
Okay.
And they were practicing with artillery.
Wow. Okay.
So you can kayak and enjoy the sound of artillery.
Wow.
Yeah, and I kayaked around Constitution Island, which is private property owned by the government. You can't go on it, but it's just wonderful.
That's great.
This wonderful Hudson Valley, the deep waters.
Nice.
That was a good trip.
That's great. That sounds really cool. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I want to get up to New Hope in the next couple of weeks before the weather starts to get a little cooler. Right? Even fall's okay to go there, but Washington's Crossing, things like that.
Yeah, I did some work up there, Washington's Crossing.
Yeah. It's a cool place. New Hope and Washington's Crossing.
Some ghost stories up there.
There is
at the very end.
There's a lot of bed and breakfasts and old buildings and Victorian structures up there.
Yeah,
and it's a nice place to go. And I like to go a couple times a year. Mm-hmm. And also Gettysburg. Too,
oh, yeah. Well,
which I plan on
back. You're going to get up to Gettysburg again?
I do want to get up there, yeah.
Going to go see Mark Nesbitt. And...
Yeah.
I
don't know when, but soon. Right,
a lot of good ghost stories.
But I'm going to Wildwood this weekend.
Yeah, you are.
That's a definite. I'm definitely going to Wildwood this weekend. A couple weeks ago, I went and saw Frankie Valley, and that was pretty fun.
You were saying over at Atlantic City.
You want some money. Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Not a lot.
Well, it's nice to win.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And the big Ferris wheel, that thing is that if you ever get a chance, it's not cheap. It's like $15 for a ride.
It is, but
it's at Steel Pier on Atlantic City's boardwalk, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. You can buy beer waiting in line.
Can you really? Yeah. Smart.
And which I did do. And, Smart. And then when the actual car is like it's all enclosed. It's not open. But you walk in, at the inside of the car is air conditioned, and there's a table as soon as they lock you in that raises up in the center. It kind of just it just kind of rises.
Oh wow!
To your level, and then it opens out, and you can put whatever food because you can buy stuff. You can take food in there and you just sit there and eat and drink beer or whatever.
Wow!
And the ride's quite lengthy. It's maybe 20 minutes.
This was you're up there for a while.
Which is why it's $15 probably. Some of them are like 5-10 minutes. It's 20 minutes at least, maybe longer. It was pretty long, yeah. And that was pretty cool. Frankie Valli was great. I don't think he really lost any kind of his voice at all.
That's impressive.
And if he's like 84,
mm-hmm.
and if you guys want to, you don't believe me, go ahead and look it up on YouTube because recent concert footage. He sounds absolutely. You would, if you close your eyes, you would think he was like 25 years old. I'm not kidding. It's crazy, but yeah, that was a really fun trip. And then about a week before that, I was at Knoebels.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy because a week after, not even like 3 or 4 days after I left Knoebels, I saw in the news that it completely got flooded.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, we had a lot of flooding.
Yeah, it was like it got flooded out. It was like Knoebels was under like 2 and 3 feet. Now that's in Ellisburg, Pennsylvania. Yeah. That's a hike. It's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, it's
so
pretty.
You
it's
drive
pretty,
past the Poconos and
it's pretty far. But it's have you ever been there?
Yeah.
Okay,
you've been a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember going up with family.
If you've been there, it hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as it's been for like 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's still free admission. You can still bring in food. And sit and eat in the picnic areas. And that was pretty fun. They have the haunted house there, which was on the Travel Channel.
Yeah, you were saying one of the oldest, one of the best.
Yeah, one of the oldest, one of the best in the country. And they still have the merry-go-round there where you get the brass ring and everything.
Nice.
So I'm looking for. So you said you're going to Ocean City. I think I'm going to Wildwood this.
You're going up to Wildwood
this Saturday.
Yeah,
this weekend.
I'm hoping to collect some ghost stories.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I might do the same.
Yeah. We have some great folklore story from.
Only problem is I don't know where to go in Wildwood to collect ghost stories.
Yeah, Wildwood's a bit.
Yeah,
you can go talk to the hotel owners. I think,
right.
And see if they've got anything. It's just that's a tough one.
That is tough. Yeah.
Cape May's more.
I might have to come at Cape. Yeah, Cape May is a little more geared towards that. Wildwood is not, but I can still give it a shot. Yeah,
nice.
I might have to break away from the guys for a little bit, and maybe just try and find some hotel owners.
Where a shirt that says "I'm looking for ghost stories."
Yeah.
What are you afraid of?
Hey, right? Hey, we should get shirts made up that say that.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I'm looking for ghost stories. Please tell me your ghost stories.
Please do come tell me your ghost stories.
Yeah.
But you'll get some good ones, and you get some people just like get away from you.
Yeah. I was sitting in my living room, and there was a banging on the wall, and I was like, oh my God, it was a ghost. Well, what kind of a house do you live in? It's a twin. Well, that was your neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah, that was exactly. So.
No, that's been our summer so far.
That's great.
We've had some fun stuff and some neat. I mean, we kind of talk about everything on the show.
Yeah, and have you been watching any kind of summer movies this year? Or? Summer horror movies.
All the zombie stuff is like all this new zombie stuff's coming out. I'm saving it for October.
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like horror is when I start getting into the September, October is when I'll start feeling that.
Okay, I watched Friday the 13th in the summer.
The new one. Was that or the old one?
I had the whole box set. I just watched them.
Camp.
I just watch. Yeah, I pretty much do one a week or something, one every couple of weeks, and just go through the whole series.
Right. Because
there's so many of them. Because it's summer camp. It takes place in summer.
Yeah. Right. So I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you ever get a chance, check out The Burning.
The Burning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's very much similar to Friday the 13th. It came out maybe a couple years later, a year or two later. And it's a Friday the 13th ripoff, but
right.
It's still good. Like it's an early 80s slasher summer camp.
What's the big shark season? Meg, it's called?
Meg, yeah, the Meg. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. About a mega. They just make the shark bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right. It's Jaws times 20.
It's
right.
We're going to need a bigger planet.
Right.
Bigger ocean. I heard it's bad.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, what do you expect?
I know it's doing well at in the theaters.
Doesn't have much competition right now.
Yeah, there's really nothing out there right now.
There's not a lot of competition there. Of course, what is it? The Nun is coming out?
The Nun, which is the Conjuring universe, yeah.
The Conjuring universe. But it's not based on a true story, I don't think.
No, I think that's complete. I think it's completely made up. It's
one of those...
Hollywood fabrication.
Yeah, but it's one of those... But it's told like a ghost story.
Right.
Which is a lot of fun.
Now, the other Conjuring... Even Annabelle is based on a true,
right? But I think they just took the character and and that's fine.
Yeah. Have you seen Annabelle Creation?
No, not yet.
No?
I think it's sitting on Amazon Prime.
Oh, it's great, man. Annabelle Creation's awesome.
Yeah, I've been absorbed into reading about the Philadelphia Mafia.
Okay.
And Philadelphia Crime Syndicate.
Is
also in
that
Atlantic
research?
City. Yeah, research for a short story I'm working on.
Okay, all right.
And kind of working with the Near to the Knuckle people, Chris Roy.
Right.
So I'm doing something for them.
Cool.
And it's just intense. And you read about, we're talking about Wildwood, we're talking about Atlantic City, we're talking about areas of Philly that we love, and you wouldn't believe how drenched in blood these places are.
I know.
Like there's a hotel in Wildwood, a motel, I think we've both been to, it had a different name, I'm going to say it, 2 decades ago, but at one point they tried to kill the father of some mafia guy there.
Really?
They stabbed him in the neck. And he ended up bleeding out on the floor. He lived, but it's like a place we go to.
Wow.
You know, and they all have houses in like Ocean City and Margate.
Well, it can't be haunted because he didn't die. So.
Yeah, he didn't die, but I think it could still be haunted. It's pretty old down there.
Yeah, not by him though. Right?
But it's like, you know, like Rebecca Brumble. She's one of the owners of Para X. Her mom has a house down in Margate.
Right.
And it's like I don't want to tell her that, you know, probably on the street over was an execution place where they would bring guys and then ask them to get some mice out of the fridge, and somebody would take a 22 and bam, right behind the ear.
Soprano style.
Soprano style.
Right.
Yeah, but it's scary.
Can you get me some ice out of the fridge? Yeah, sure.
They turn their back.
Boom. Yeah.
And then they came over and they listened. They'd be like, he's still breathing. Put one right here.
Yeah.
That would be it. That's exactly how it happened.
Wow.
You know, that's how they killed people. And then they would put their bodies in a trunk and park them 2 streets down.
That's right.
You see, Ceiling Cat's probably texting Rebecca Brumble right now. Oh my God, there are murderers living in that house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but for Ceiling Cat, we got a treat tonight. She loves David Walton.
Okay.
We love David Walton.
Oh yeah,
he's done so much for us. But he researched some ghost stories, and he recorded one called Real Queen. And then after that, I got some time with horror author Kenneth W. Cain. He's in the HWA like I am, and he's founded a Pennsylvania chapter of the Horror Writers Association. They're starting to do meetings. And I sat down with Kenneth, and this is kind of our writer's profile that we do, and he shared some, you know, creative insight and some very interesting information about the industry. So I sat down with him for a little bit. So we're going to play Real Queen from David Walton, and then part 1 of the interview with Kenneth W. Cain. And then we will be back on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio at 9 o'clock Eastern on Parax Radio. And you can find us at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com, and where all major podcast services are played.
Real Queen. An extract from The Ghosts of Exeter by Sally and Chips Barber, published in 1990. And read with permission from Obelisk Publications by David Walton. It may sound like a romantic notion for the ghost of Queen Henrietta-Marie, wife of Charles I, to haunt a part of Exeter. But in the first half of the 17th century, the heavily pregnant Queen took sanctuary in Exeter, the county town of Devon in England. This was during the English Civil War in 1644, and Exeter, a royalist stronghold, was an excellent choice of location for what was to be the royal pair's 6th child. The Queen took up residence in Bedford House, close to what is now Exeter's main post office, and on the 16th of June 1644 she gave birth to a daughter, Princess Henrietta, who was baptised at a specially constructed font in Exeter Cathedral on the 21st of July 1644. The Queen missed the baptism because the Earl of Essex and his parliamentarian troops were closing in on the city of her refuge. The Queen was forced to flee to Falmouth in Cornwall and take ship across to France. It could just be possible that the trauma of these turbulent days and the Queen's distress at having to abandon her child was enough to call her back to Exeter in ghostly form. According to documentation made public in 1962, it is firmly believed that Queen Henrietta-Marie was positively identified walking through the gardens of Barnfield House. She was spotted as a fragile-looking woman who simply vanished into thin air before the eyes of the witness.
What are you afraid of?
Hi, I'm Tim Wagner, Bram Stoker award-winning author.
Hashtag Grave Girls.
This is Katrina Weidman of Destination America's Paranormal Lockdown.
This is Jim Chambers. I'm the author of The Engines of Sacrifice.
This is Jasper Barr, award-winning author of The Final Cut.
And you're listening to What Are You Afraid Of?
What Are You Afraid Of?
To What Are You Afraid Of?
What are you afraid of?
Love it. Fantoxic, please. Fantoxic.
Well, here we are again. I thought that perhaps the nightmare was over, but no. I am summoned once again and can only obey. I am in thrall of Fox and unable to resist his powers, his hypnotic powers, masquerading as charm and friendship, his transatlantic, perhaps global powers. And so, every Sunday morning I sit in front of a microphone and read. Every Sunday afternoon I edit the audio file I have been commanded to create. Every Sunday evening I press send on an email to Philadelphia with an MP3 attached and tremble as I await the verdict of my master. I changed my name from David Walton to Brendan Shawland and created music which I liberally sprinkled throughout the internet in websites including SoundCloud and Bandcamp in a pathetic attempt to throw him off the scent. Those hopeless breadcrumbs are still available if you care to listen, so that you will know what not to do when your time comes. That's right. It didn't work. He tracked me down, and I am once again his creature. If you are listening to this, you are in grave danger, and I can only urge you to flee. Flee! Before it is too late, before you find that you too are a voice actor on whatayouafraidof.com.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Sain is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head, the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of the novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
Rat! Rat! Where are you going?
I'm going back to the Paranormal View. Back where I belong.
Please, take me with you.
No, I'm through with everything here. I want to see if there's something left in life I haven't explored. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Rat, don't run to them. They talk about ghosts and hauntings, UFOs, and all kind of supernatural scary stuff.
You'll never understand, will you, Scarlet?
No!
Well, that's your misfortune.
Rat, if you go? Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear. Line.
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
That's the Paranormal View with your host, Henry Foister, Jeffrey Gould, and Barbara Duncan. Every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the Para X Radio Network.
This is T. Fox Dunham at What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show. We're on Para X Radio at 9 p.m. on Friday nights, Eastern Standard Time. You can find us on all download services. If you can't find us, the service isn't worth it. What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. And we do horror, we do paranormal stuff, we interview ghost hunters, we interview all types and sorts and weirdos and crazies, especially authors, of which we are ourselves authors. And there's a new chapter of the HWA that is starting, growing. It's incipient in Pennsylvania, and tonight on the show we have Kenneth W. Cain, who is sort of founding this chapter, motivating it, helping it to grow, arranging the schedule, which, believe me, is a major pain in the butt, getting everybody organized on the same page. And Kenneth is quite a remarkable author. I've been aware of him for some time, and he's the author of 4 novels, the Saga of I trilogy, and the United States of the Dead, 4 short story collections, These Old Tales, Fresh Cut Tales, Embers, and Darker Days, and the novella A Season in Hell. He is also the editor for Crystal Lake Publishing's anthology, Tales from the Lake, Volume 5. Early on, shows like The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and One Step Beyond created a sense of wonder for that unknown that continues to fuel his writing today. Cain resides in Chester County, Pennsylvania, with his wife and 2 children. You can find him at kennethwcain.com. So, Kenneth, or should I call you Ken?
Either or, I'm fine with that, and Kenny and everything. So, thanks for having me, by the way.
Oh, we're glad to. Yeah, I'm going to call you Cain for the night.
Okay, that's fine.
Excellent. So, how are you this evening?
Excellent. A little cooler today, so not so hot out.
Yeah, you're near me. I'm over in Montgomery County. You're in Chester County.
Yeah, not too far away.
Yes, because you've founded the PA chapter of the HWI. I know the New York chapter's very popular up there with James Chambers, and I've done a lot of stuff with them, and it's cool to see you getting this group of local horror authors going. Something that I've always noticed, like in Philadelphia and the region, is there's very little, there are very few horror writing events. You know,
it does seem that way in this area. I mean, we used to have I think it was called Horror Find, in where was it at? Gettysburg, and that was a great little convention. The traffic through there was excellent. It shut down, which is unfortunate. So I wanted to try to build something in this area to get a little bit more of awareness of the genre, and hopefully get some newer people signing up for the HWA and joining our little group, and possibly creating something bigger in this general area for the horror genre.
Right, and it's definitely needed, and hopefully, I've been trying to put together some speakers events, reading events, and I've had a few successful ones, and hopefully we'll be able to generate a few more in the future.
That'd be excellent.
Okay, so when did you start writing?
I started a long time ago. I had an interest in this. Back when I was in grade school, one of my teachers had read one of the renditions of the Baba Yaga tale. And that that story was so unique for me back at that age. It really impressed upon me how strange a story could be and hold your attention. So I started writing different versions of that. Obviously, they were probably so close to the original story that I heard that none of that was worth holding on to. But that's kind of where it started. Then as I got into my teens, I started reading my parents' Reader's Digest volumes, where I found Edgar Allan Poe. Mm-hmm. And then I found a used bookstore where the basement was full of a horror section. So I would go down there for like hours at this used bookstore, trading my old school books in for horror anthologies, so I could read some more short stories. But I didn't really get into this with any kind of thought of selling my writing until about 10 years ago. And that's when it really became something that I wanted to do. It's kind of odd because I guess I just never realized that you can write stories for money unless you were, one of these very well-known authors. And about that time, the small publishing markets were starting to come out and creating some new avenues for us to sell our writing. And I've just kind of worked as hard as I can at it ever since.
Yeah, we are definitely a member of that generation of the easier indie publishing where all of a sudden everybody could form a publisher and go through, smaller publishing places, and the print-on-demand craze that happened that created so many markets that built our careers, you and me, and a lot of the other people that came up in this generation. And we owe a lot of that to ebook publishing, Amazon.com, and it definitely changed the industry. What was that like for you back then? Like, did you just start selling fiction right away, or did you have 2 years of agony where you were keeping the faith?
It's odd because right away I got into this smaller press, Library of the Living Dead.
Sure, yeah, I remember.
And it's been around for a long time, and I jumped in. I was doing book covers. I had a bunch of stories sold, and as you know, something happened there, and Dr. Puss dropped out. And I ended up with so I was doing very well to start with, selling stories there. And Dr. Puss dropped off the face of the earth for some, reason. I mean, I don't know if it was physical or whatever the case. He closed up shop, and I got back 7 or 8 stories that he was supposed to publish.
Oh, man.
So I was heartbroken. And I actually remember going to my wife and saying, what am I going to do with all these old tales? And that's where my first collection came from. I said, you know what, that's the good idea. I'm going to, I have a background, an extensive background in graphic design. So I did the formatting and the graphic design. I hired an artist, hired an editor, actually 2 editors. And, I decided to self-publish that. And, that was kind of me bowing out of it. I guess at that time I felt like it was too much. And I tell this story quite a bit, but Gene O'Neill actually was kind enough to post a message on my Facebook wall that he had read the book and enjoyed it. And that just totally changed things for me. Knowing that somebody, he didn't have to take time to do that, and he did. And it just totally impressed upon me that maybe I can do this. So I started taking it a lot more serious, started focusing more on my words, and fell in the stretch of time over the next 10 years, I really fell in love with my writing.
Mm-hmm. Right, that's excellent. Yeah, it's it's funny. Every author goes through that period of heartbreak where their expectations are built up, they're doing very well, and then it's almost like they want to make that transition to the next level, and you suffer that disaster that time, and you question your faith, and you have to find a new motivation for doing it. I really think that's the transition from a beginning indie author to a professional author right there.
You're spot on. I mean, you actually, I remember somebody saying early on that I needed to develop a thicker skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know how to interpret that, because I felt like I was, pretty okay with rejection, but I get it over time. You're going to get those 1-star reviews that are just they cut to the bone.
Yeah.
And you're going to get those rejections that are awful. Mm-hmm. But you're also going to get the ones that are great. And you're going to get the acceptances. And they're going to be fewer and farther between. But it's all part of the process of making you into a better writer.
Right. And a better professional. And there's quite a difference. And it's funny because a lot of new authors talk to me and they say, oh, I don't know if I could take rejection. Rejection sounds like the worst. And I'm like, you think just rejection is bad? Wait until you get a near miss, or wait until you sell a story, and then for some reason it gets sent back to you. That's agony.
Or wait until you get rejected, and then they go ahead and put your name on the cover.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've had that. And I've also had the other one where they forget to put you in the book altogether.
Such is life of indie publishing. Wow.
That's just the way it is. And you come into this and you think you're going to be a millionaire. You're like, I'm going to write the best fiction. Everybody's going to want to read it. I'm going to be the next Stephen King. I'm going to make $1 million. I'm set. And then that harsh reality comes down on you within the first couple weeks, I think. And you start to realize, wow, this is a lot tougher than I thought.
Yeah, it's you can get into a position where you're like a Tim Wagner or Richard Lee Byers, where you're writing like genre fiction, and you're writing, or Jay Wilburn made a lot of, he was supporting his family on his side by writing, ghostwriting, going to the websites and taking $25 jobs or $100 jobs and building up his credibility. But, there's a difference. Like, if you've got a day job and you just write for fun and a little extra money, that's great. Don't try to make that transition. But if you really want to write professionally, you have to work at being a businessman in addition to being an author.
You're right, and you see a lot of these bigger name authors. They do have day jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's and it's just really hard. It's just, and that way you can keep your writing as something full of pleasure, as opposed to full of stress. But
and it's funny because those first 10 rejections, you think they hurt, but then after you get to like 500 rejections, it just no longer even phases you anymore.
Right? Yeah. Well, if you see a story. And you have a story, or you see a submission call, and you have a story sitting in your files, and you just say, "Oh, that might work," and you throw it at it. And there's not much invested there. So if it gets rejected, you're kind of like, "Okay, well, it was a quick shot." But it's those anthologies that you write a story for 4 months and pour your heart into it. If they reject you, that's really tough.
Yeah, I agree. And you might be doing that for like $60 or $70 or whatever. And people don't realize it. I don't think all the time what goes into writing the story, all the layering and the subtext, the editing. Like I edit and edit and edit and edit. Every time I get a rejection, I use that as I've learned to see it as an opportunity to improve the story.
That's a very good pattern to have. Is every time you get a rejection, read it again before you send it off.
Exactly, because there's got to be there might be no reason. It might just have been too similar to somebody else's story, and their story was just edged me out a little bit. But I want to make sure. I want to read through it and make sure that, and that's proved to be something that's so important to me. Like I've caught scenes that are they just don't add anything to the story. So I'll take that whole scene out, and then I've found spots where I need some clarification to make the story more easier to read and understand.
And I find when I get rejected from a targeted market, I'll take the time and I'll usually sell it to something better.
Yeah, that happens. And I learned pretty early on, I think it was Lucy A. Snyder that had said, she talked about this, like how you might get like 50 stories for a publication for a submission call, and they might all have the same theme. And she said, that doesn't mean your story's bad. Just keep sending it out. And then when you've exhausted all your avenues, then consider, binding them together in a collection and trying to sell that. And if you can't sell that, then you always have self-publishing. Exhaust all your avenues, and then, you have self-publishing if you want to go that route if you want to.
And I think one of the real tricks too is to keep a story working for you. Sell it once, wait for the rights to come back, and then find somewhere else to get it, keep it in print. And that's a good place for anthologies too, is once you've published a bunch of work and it comes back to you, bind it together.
Yeah, those are the best stories, the ones that keep on giving. I have a few of those. Those are excellent.
Yeah. So let's see here. You've got some cool stuff coming out here. It looks like you've got A Season in Hell. And that's a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking story. You won't soon forget Dylan or Keisha. Her struggle is as timely today as ever. A Season in Hell is also a love letter to baseball and how, despite everything, the game can still heal and bring people together who seemed impossibly far apart, and can do so through intimidating odds. A timeless story of true humanity, written by John Palacino, Vice President of the Horror Writers Association, a Bram Stoker Award-winning author of A Night of a Thousand Beasts. So baseball, you got a thing for baseball, huh?
I've played baseball or coached baseball for most of my life. My family has always been big into this sport. And so I took to it at a young age and just, my entire life, either softball, I played adult fast pitch leagues that were, double A equivalent. So I've faced some ex-major leaguers and some future major leaguers. It's been a pretty incredible journey. And so I've always had a fondness for the sport. This story actually, its roots start in like one of my first seasons when I was very young. Playing, I think it was coach pitch. I don't even know if they had coach pitch back then. But there was a girl on my team. And back then in the late 70s, that was almost unheard of. you didn't see it a whole lot. And then you also had coaches that wouldn't play certain kids, and so you had kids that would drop out very early on. And I just remember some of the things that the other boys said to her. It's something that I've always, I don't remember the exact words. I just remember that she just wanted to have fun and play baseball. And she took a lot of heat for it. And so it's something that's kind of stuck with me. I've had this note in my folder for 3 or 4 years just to write this story. And finally, it was the one that called to me out of my folder. There might be 1,000 or 2,000 notes in that folder. And that's the one that called to me. And I was like, I'm going to write this story now. And the reception for it's been excellent. I couldn't be happier.
Excellent. It's really cool. You get to combine a few things you love there into a book. I should do a novel about fishing one day, though I doubt only other anglers would read it.
Well, have you read The Fisherman?
No, I haven't. That's
such an excellent book. John Langan.
Mm-hmm.
It's so well told, and that's a great. I mean, if you want an example of a great fishing novel, that is it.
Yeah, the last one I remember was A River Runs Through It, and that's kind of old. So.
Oh yeah, I love that.
and fly fishing's really not my thing, so I'd have to.
No, I'm a big fisherman too.
Oh, really?
I haven't done it nearly as much since my kids have been born. They're a little squeamish when it comes to the worms and all the other baits that I might use. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, I'll convince my son and take him out trout fishing for opening day. So.
Where do you go?
We live pretty close to, I think it's called White Clay Creek.
Okay, yeah.
So we usually head over there. It's really close by, and we can go and catch like 3 or 4 nice sized trout and cook them up on the grill.
Oh, that they stock out there then?
Yeah.
Who's publishing A Season Hell?
Crystal Lake Publishing, Joe Meinhardt from Crystal Lake, yeah. He it's one of those stories I had been rejected a couple times. And like I said, I always use a rejection as an opportunity to improve the craft. Mm-hmm. And I dove back into it this last time, and it was almost like I actually got a good note on the rejection. So I had a pretty good idea that something serious was wrong with this one. And so I tore it apart. I mean, totally rewrote that thing. And it's so much better now. I'm so happy. It's so odd to say this, but I'm so happy for that rejection because it really improved that story. And I was just like, I'm going to test it. I'm going to send it to Joe. And Joe was like, yeah, let's do this thing.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Joe's a great guy.
He is. He's a super nice guy.
Kenneth W. Cain on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show on ParaX Radio at Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also on all major podcast services. And you can find us over at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can find more information about Kenneth, including links to his website and links to his works, especially Season in Hell, which is coming out on September 7th, and it sounds like fun. And you also edited Tales from the Lake, Volume 5, and let me check here. I think you rejected me, you big jerk.
I rejected it. I was actually just recently talking about this. It's so hard. Much harder than I thought it would be. We had 715 submissions.
Yeah.
And you would not believe like how many great submissions I received. Now they're the stories that I talked a little bit about this. Like I heard this statistic once, and who knows what the real statistic is, but they said 90% of the stories that get rejected start in the wrong place. Mm. So I really tried to give the author that first 2 or 3 pages to find the start of the story where I thought it should be. Because that's something you can fix in editing. You could relayer all that. I mean, not saying that information, that 2 or 3 pages was unimportant. Just sometimes you need that impact beginning, and then you can see that stuff in, layer it a little bit nicer, do some subtext. So there was just a lot of that. And they were great stories. So most of the stories I read through to the end and enjoyed them quite a bit. And I could have easily put together 3-4 excellent volumes of stories. But in the end, I had a budget I was working with, and I had a limit to how many stories I could take because of that. So I had to reject some tough stories. I mean, there were some stories where it came down to literally picking one story I love over another story I love, and that was so hard to do.
Right. Oh, yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, I'm really feeling for your pain right now, let me tell you. No, I get it. I do. And you know what? Because of your professionalism, we'll all benefit from that, even if we did get rejected. Well, Crystal Lake Publishing is one of the better top indie publishers, especially with that huge depression and crash we had in indie publishing over the last few years. We lost so many good names out there as sort of the industry balanced itself out, and Crystal Lake is definitely an international firm, and it's been rising in prominence ever since, so it's definitely a great book to put your name on. I'm sure you had some great authors in there, and we'll be interviewing a few more of those as we go on. We'll definitely be talking to Crystal Lake again. And again, Season in Hell comes out on September 7th. You can find links to that book up at our website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com.
Pre-order for that just went live today, so...
Oh, great.
Yeah, and it's going to be a 99-cent sale on the pre-order, and then once it comes out on September 7th, the price is going to go up significantly, I hear.
Oh, I see. So before September 7th, you can get it for 99 cents.
Yep.
Excellent. So we'll definitely get this interview out before then, so our listeners get a chance to grab your amazing book.
Caliburn Press, LLC is a Madison, Wisconsin-based publishing company owned and operated by Alan Ledden. Caliburn works with talented writers, artists, editors, and marketers throughout the United States, and you can find their books through their many imprints that include Damnation Books, Eternal Press, Malaferia Press, Ciento Sordida Publishing, and Spiro Publishing. Please visit their website at sites.google.com/site/Caliburn Press LLC/home, or Google Caliburn Press to check out their growing list of titles on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and any other place fine books are sold.
I'm Jenna Valadez with the Basement Files. Tune in Friday nights, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Para-X Radio Network.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror Paranormal Show Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para-X Radio and at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
What are you afraid of on Para-X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction.
We are ready to scare you.
Para-X. In the future, roving bands of comic book podcasts will savage the wasteland, once known as the Internet. One podcast, the Grolix Podcast, may not be the biggest, may not be the funniest, may not be the most well-spoken. Wait, what was my point again? Oh yes, the Grolix Podcast. Listen to it at grolixpodcast.com. That's GRAWLIX podcast.com.
Ken's a neat guy.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I did that interview the night before we went to the Hudson Valley.
Oh,
yeah. So, yeah, we talked for a bit, and we're still trying to profile horror authors, horror filmmakers, horror TV people, horror artists, and we got some neat stuff coming up.
Right.
You know, we got some great shows coming up. I'm still working through content from Selma in Norristown, Bill Reap and the gang down there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got some more psychic, I guess it would be psychic autumn.
Yeah, no longer psychic spring, right?
Yeah, psychic summer, autumn now. It's just psychic stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm bringing back something tonight that we haven't had in a while because there's just been a dearth of it. But we actually have some clown news.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
Clown news. Bill loves that one.
Clown
news. Yeah, so we got clown news. Play that jingle.
I saw Bill a couple times this week.
Yeah, he's been up at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah. I haven't been up there lately.
You've been writing?
I went up there. I've been up there writing this week a couple days. It's the first time I've been up there in a while, though. I haven't been up there in weeks.
Yeah, I haven't been well enough to get up, but I will.
Probably about a month. This week's like the first time in a month.
So, clown news.
Clown news.
This is what I call clowns against crime. Now, caveat. There's not much clown news going on, so let's call this the Clown News of Summer Review. Happened in May. Some clowns dressed in white, were marching down a central street in the Mexico resort of Acapulco in early summer, and they were protesting the city's crime wave. You've heard of Acapulco, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a great resort, but a lot of drug dealers, a lot of syndicate stuff has been going on.
Right.
So the people there just said, we have enough. They painted their faces, and they were carrying signs called peace and tired of the violence. And they're losing businesses down there because they're fear of, people coming down and getting murdered. And like in April, 100 people were killed.
100 people in April?
In Acapulco, yeah. And it's insane. So they dressed up as clowns and protested it. Now, clowns against the mob. What do you think?
Clowns against the mob?
Clowns against the mob.
Oh, that's
how would you write
something
that?
I don't think I'd ever hear in one sentence together.
If you were writing that as a story, what would you do?
Oh, clowns against the mob. Jeez. Oh, God. Now, are these clowns do they dress like clowns all the time?
No, just for the event. Yeah. The mob's shooting them, but they're throwing banana peels at them.
Maybe they're okay. Throwing their horns.
Yeah. Little trained monkeys.
They are kidnapping the mobsters and putting them in clown cars.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're opening the trunks of clown cars.
Yeah, and they can just put
50 bodies.
They can fit they can fit like 50 or 60 bodies in there.
Yeah.
That's it's an endless array of space.
Yeah.
Keep piling it in.
No, what really triggered this was apparently a juggler had been murdered earlier that year. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And the juggler was some kind of clown. Uh-huh. So they said, we're going to go protest. The jugglers are coming back. So, zombie clowns rising from the dead to attack the mob. Well, the Mexican syndicate.
Wow. That'd be a story and a half, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my clown.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
We might have some more next episode. So, well, it's been a fun episode.
Yeah.
I got to thank Kenneth Cain. We'll have part 2 on the next episode.
Absolutely.
With that and a story from him, which will be a lot of fun. And thanks, David Walton, for recording. That was cool. So, what are you working on right now?
What am I working on?
Yeah.
Basically, still working on the full-length novel, really. Worst Afterlife ever.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that. And I am past the 80,000 mark.
Nice.
80,000 word mark.
Right.
I'm trying to cap it at 89. So I'm like 80, 81, 82,000, something like that.
Good. Good, man. Wow.
I'm trying to cap it at 89. And of course, it'll be edited down.
Yeah, I'm sure. And up and down and up and
down.
And
up and down and up and down, exactly. Maybe it'll go up, it fluctuates. It'll go up and down. So yeah, I mean, it's coming to an end. And I've noticed that even if I want to work on it, like say 2 or 3 hours a day, right? I can still stick to that schedule.
Yeah.
But my output is lessened because I'm more careful about everything I put down.
Well, that's the point. Yeah.
Because before it was like, I don't know, I would just write like, oh, okay. But this is like the end. So I'm like really like, I've got to make sure, I want to try and make sure it doesn't suck, So I'm like really almost nervous when I sit down in front of the keyboard and write it. It's like, before I wasn't,
Right.
Because it's like, it just seems like it just matters so much. Like every single sentence matters. You know?
It's funny, you would think getting closer to the end it would become easier.
Right.
But no, it's harder.
Right, yeah.
If you start second guessing yourself. And
yeah. So there was a couple of times where I actually went back and I wrote something and I'm like, I didn't like that. And I went back and I rewrote it. This has been the last couple of weeks, so.
Nice, so you're getting there.
Oh yeah. I'm
definitely following that with keen interest.
I'm getting there. And I'll give you some excerpts.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, we'll get some on the show. Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, speaking of writing, A New York State of Fright, Horror Stories from the Empire State is out. It's from some friends like James Chambers, John Foster, Patrick Revald, Teal James Glenn, who I read with, Amy Grech, Megan Acure, who was on the show, J.G. Flattery, Lisa Minetti. You remember Lisa?
Of course.
Yeah, it's a neat anthology. It's all from New York authors, and it's out there to support a charity where all proceeds are going to the New York City Girls Right Now nonprofit organization. It pairs at-risk teen women interested in writing with professional writing and career monitors. And you can find out more about that organization at www.girlsrightnow.com. And you can find the book on Amazon. It's everywhere.
Nice.
Hippocampus Press. We'll have links for that up at the website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
Cool.
Check it out. I think it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, and you're working on something too,
mostly
right?
short fiction.
Short fiction.
Yeah,
right?
I started selling fiction again,
right,
and getting it accepted. I just had another piece accepted by Near to the Knuckle.
Right. Yeah,
and that's been fun. And I'm working on something else, some crime, and I want to jump into my next novel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm getting there. It's just,
well, you were working on something.
Yeah, short story offers keep jumping up at me, and I swear to God, it's almost like you have to turn down offers,
right,
to finish your projects.
Yeah.
And you just get so distracted by stuff that just pops up.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean.
You have to discipline yourself.
Yeah. But you're working on something, a novella or novel?
A novel, yeah.
Space?
Space hyperbole is filling up.
Okay.
But not written word-wise, content-wise.
Okay.
That's taking time to develop. And I just got more interest in a book I'd been working on called Mr. Bones that I'd put away.
Mr. Bones, right.
Mr. Bones. And now there seems to be some interest in that, so I'm...
Right.
finishing that up and working on the crime stuff.
So you wrote Mr. Bones?
Well, no.
No, okay.
I developed it.
You developed it, okay.
But I wrote a bunch of it, but it's just sitting there now.
I got you.
So now I'm going back to that.
Okay, great.
It's just, doing that, doing the show, playing D&D some Fridays.
Right. Absolutely.
But
keep yourself busy.
Yeah, this has been a fun episode.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man.
And this was episode 93.
93.
Dead
Days...
of summer. But not puppies.
No.
Because puppies are fun.
Not dead dog days of summer.
Yeah.
We're going to get hate mail from that.
Oh, we are. Yeah, the SPCA is going to contact us.
Right.
We're in trouble. Again. Again.
Paul McCartney's going to email us.
Yeah, right. And the other Beatles from the dead.
Yeah.
But that's very much us.
Yep. PETA. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll see you next episode.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
This is Phil.
This is Foxy.
I think you rejected me, you big jerk.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard, and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the next Stargate anthology from MGM and Fandemonium Books, Points of Origin. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into feature films False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand. His short films can be viewed on his YouTube channel, Film Zero Presents. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, Game Skinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com. His first novel, The Poe Predicament, is being published in 2018 by Caliburn Press.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.